Hey everybody, welcome to USA Wrestling's Moments Off the Mat. My name is Mike Clayton. I'm your National Coach Education Manager, and we're joined with US Wrestling Officials Association, members from our Coaches Council, and special guests for our Kahoot.it game today. So Zach, please start us off.
Yeah, so each week we've kind of gone through a variety of different situations. Certainly last week's attack counterattack is probably one of the toughest. Today it's kind of blending a lot of things together a little bit, and I'm really disappointed that Zach is not here because the email Zach sent me a match or a video, and we talked about this before, where the number of challenges that occurred during one match was pretty significant. So of the 7 clips that I have, 6 of them came from that match alone. So you're going to get experience, like if you were coaching a match, would you challenge it? What would it be as you kind of go through it? So that'll be a little bit of the part today. So it's a little bit of everything. There's not one particular area we're looking at. So that's kind of just the process for today here. So here is what we're going to be doing today. So hopefully everybody can see that. And remember, this is a little bit of my opinion in this process too. So always a good reminder, just for you, JD.
Now it's skewed.
Makes it more stressful, like Jeopardy.
An added touch. We're 7 weeks in. I just got the music to go for you guys. All right. So those that scored no points, and one of you that scored no points, why did you score no points here?
Red didn't expose, and then she also landed on her knee first and stayed on her knee a little bit before she went to her hip. So it wouldn't even be a correct throw, in my opinion. But she never exposed, and then Blue never got around before time came up.
Okay. Those of you that scored a takedown, what did you see that you scored a takedown for?
Knee was down. She was hip to hip. And when you said this was my opinion, I started going back and forth on.
Actually, in this match, this was the U23s. This actually was scored to Blue. And then this got challenged because the score was 4-3 and became 5-4. So it got challenged at that point, whether that was a takedown or not. So we reviewed this, and we actually were able to watch this in 2 angles. And I think, Jackie, was it you who gave me, I couldn't see who was answered the first time on why they didn't score
Nicole.
2. Nicole, that's pretty good. In terms of this, when we watched this, because the question was, did she expose in this process? And it's kind of tough to tell a little bit, like that backside right there. But I can tell you from the other video, she didn't. So you're right on the fact that she didn't expose. And this would also be not considered a correct hold. So it's whether this just became a takedown or not. And in order to be a takedown, she has to be where?
Behind her.
Behind her. She has to be behind the hips, and she just gets hip to hip, which isn't in this place isn't going to be quite good enough for a takedown. So in this case, we actually changed the call back to no takedown. So Red won 4-3.
Oh.
Hey.
1 second.
Take it while I got it.
Yes.
So there's always lots of options now too. All right, two red in this process. So I will tell you, not every situation in here was challenged. There were just a lot of good situations when I was making video clips. There was a lot of clips to pick from this one. So, all right, so somebody that scored 2 red. Why did you score 2 red? What did you see?
I think I went 2 red because I was trying to figure out. Well, first I had to watch it the second time to make sure. I was trying to see if they were inbound still. And then there was never any exposure, so it just looked like a regular takedown to me. I don't think Blue did anything like to intentionally flee to go out of bounds, or he never made it out of bounds. So I just went with a regular takedown.
And
Okay.
for me, I was looking at like, was it a full step out initially? You know, like did they stop action? I know that Blue's hands went out and then his like foot went out, but was it a full step out and was it continuation? You know.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I just figured he was, with the hopping away that there was going to be a caution in there. I wasn't completely sure of the 2 score, the 2 red. But I was sure, he was avoiding wrestling, in my opinion. So that's why.
That's what I had. I was right with Danny. I saw him hopping away, and so that's why I thought the caution was there.
I think that's
right on the edge.
Absolutely. I think that, he was definitely trying to get out of bounds. He was definitely trying to flee the mat, but you typically don't double jeopardy one person. So you either give whatever the best possible points are for that situation. So in this case, it either has to be a 2 or it's a caution in 1, but 2 is better than a caution in 1 because 2 points is better than a 1 point action. So in this case, I always want to go with the higher point value. So in this case, this would have been the best option here is 2 because we wouldn't have been able to go with the caution afterwards because that would be essentially penalize him for the same thing going out. Now, if you had a takedown inbounds and then he crawled out of bounds, different story. But in this situation, it's either going to be 2 or it's a caution 1. And the caution 1 if they would have blown the whistle earlier when they were still standing, that would have been the best call. But the referee did a good job of waiting until to give the attacking wrestler an opportunity to score. So I know as a referee, I'm going to, even if the defensive wrestler steps out, I'm going to wait and hold that until I give them an opportunity to score because I want them to get the higher point value in the process.
Got it.
All right, next, same match.
Oh, I clicked on the wrong one.
I think the first score wasn't really the problem. They're all 2 blue. So what happens after that?
I didn't think there's any problem with the 2 blue here.
Oh, never mind. I thought it was when they were on bottom and fleeing out that it was going to be a caution in 2. That's why I thought I hit the wrong one.
I'm 3 for 3 on disagreeing with you guys. So
This was I don't think anybody had a problem with the 2 blue, right? It's a caution we're talking about for everybody.
Yeah.
If you look at this,
I just went early. I didn't wait. I wanted to try to get 1,000 point value, so I went early right after the 2. So if I waited a little longer, I would agree 2 and 1.
yeah, on all the options, it was 2 blue across the board. So the
Right.
first action I thought was, nobody had a question on that part. It was the next action really. So there was definitely 2 blue in the video. It's the question is whether that was a fleeing the mat or not.
Yeah.
And how would that get scored?
So when would it be a caution in 2 instead of a caution in 1?
Great question. So first in Greco, that would have been a caution in 2.
Right.
In freestyle, that's only caution in 1.
Okay.
The only caution in 2 in freestyle and women's is fleeing the mat in the danger position. So if you're on your back, that's
Okay.
the only time you would get a caution in 2. Whereas Greco, everything is caution in 2s, and the only thing that's a caution in 1 for them is an offensive leg foul. Everything else is a caution in 2. So it's like the opposite a little bit in the process. So in this case, he definitely went out of bounds and definitely crawled to get out of bounds. And so in this case, they scored the 2. He actually came up and also gave the caution in 1. Now the question is where do they restart?
Back in parterre.
Because why was Red trying to get out of bounds?
To avoid getting gutted.
Or being on the bottom, right? Let's get out.
There is, right now there's 16 seconds left in this match. And if you look at the score is 10-12, and he puts up another 2, so it's 14-10. So he's trying to get out of bounds because he wants another shot on his feet to try to get a 4-point move or do something. So he's going to try to crawl out of bounds in this case. But as a result of this, because of this, he should have came back down in parterre. Now, I will tell you this, the referee didn't put him back down in parterre. He came back and restarted him standing. I think sometimes it just gets caught because he called the caution a point, but came back and brought him back standing. And if you know the rule with that as a coach, you definitely want to get the challenge block out there for that, because starting them in parterre essentially ends the match, because it's going to be very difficult for Red to score any points starting on the bottom. And how many ever seconds are left here? Like when he goes out of bounds, there's 7.6. The referee, once he starts him, is not bringing them back up at any time in that last 7.6 seconds. But in this case, the referee actually started him back in the standing position, which would have been a good chance to challenge by Blue to get him back down in parterre.
Hey, Zach, for this to be called differently between freestyle and Greco, what's the logic behind that, to call this a caution in 1 in freestyle, a caution in 2 in Greco?
So really, there's no difference in the penalty here. Like, it's fleeing the mat and it's fleeing the mat in parterre, but the rules for Greco say that all cautions are 2 points, and in freestyle, all cautions are 1 point. So it's just part of the rules. And honestly, I think one of the biggest things that they had, when wrestling got voted out of the Olympics and when they brought back, is they said, you're looking at 2 styles that are essentially identical. So how can we make them different? So which is one, so there's a few variations in the points a little bit, like with cautions, that's one, passivity procedure is another, and also the weight categories. If you notice, the weight categories are different, for men's freestyle and Greco, they're not the same. And I think that was a way for them to try to help show that it's two different sports.
That helps a lot. Thanks.
Disciplines. All right, next. There's a lot of attack counter-attack situations in this. I mean, they scored 24 points in the match. What did you see?
Well, he went feet to back and then he reversed. Then he got the reversal. But I was curious on if they were out or not. Just looking at it, my screen was kind of small, so I was trying to see if they were out of bounds when he got that reversal.
So Zach, can you explain, this is where I get caught up between, is it 2 or 1? Because I see there's no exposure. I guess I didn't see Blue exposed, but then my thoughts are that's a takedown. but how do you decide which is which?
Yeah, so the first part was blue. We go back through the beginning part of this, like this is blue's double, and blue, has both legs and goes through and still has both legs through this process, and red's square, flat shouldered on his back. So even if red made an action, it's going to be hard not to score blue with the higher point value just from those characteristics alone. So now we score for blue. The next thing we're looking at is if red does make an action, did red put blue in danger? So blue would have to go to the danger position. And you just mentioned that you said that you didn't see him go to the danger position. Like he did a pretty good job of like sort of like cartwheeling out of this, like keeping his shoulders square and plain. And he didn't go over because Red did make an action of trying to kick him over, but he let go of it at the right time so that he never went past 90. And because he didn't go past 90, we couldn't score it too. And so in this case, I do think they're still inbounds because this, like Red's head is still inbounds at this point, like he's flat on his shoulders right here at this clip right now, but everybody's still inbounds. So we're going to let this continue now.
I was curious on Blue's hip heist. His right knee, I didn't know whenever he kicked it back, I couldn't see because you can't see, right there.
Sure.
Are they out at that point? That's what I was seeing the first time through.
Sure. Absolutely. I think it's close. This situation is really close. Had this been another couple feet towards that one, this would have been for blue only, and red would have never had an opportunity to score because it would have been out of bounds. But because the chest and shoulders and everything, from in parterre, like your legs can be out of bounds, but if your chest and body are still in bounds, you're still in bounds. It's usually when you get like 3/4 of your body down or your head's touching out of bounds when it's out. In this case, they would still be in, and then they just kind of wrestle, and eventually everybody kind of ends up out of bounds, partially because blue got out of bounds before red really got on top, which is probably a good strategy for him as well. Hey, Danny, I do want to point out one thing. What I noticed is the majority of people are scoring it correct today, which is against what your statement was last week. That you scored the majority, but we're always wrong. So I just wanted to make sure I pointed that out.
Wrestling's notorious for changing rules all the time. I change them weekly.
I like it. All right, next. Any quick comments on this one?
100% of the last two questions I got right.
Yeah, I think this is pretty clean cut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there a challenge on that, Zach?
No, but it was just a good out of bounds situation.
Yeah.
Like I said, there was probably 3 or 4 challenges in this match. There wasn't every one that I'm cutting, but anything out of bounds, that was a good clip. So I just pulled that one because that's a good teaching tool. Like for that one, that was a double going out. And even if red, in this video, even if red would have taken blue to his back here, like kicked him over.
Can't counter out of bounds.
Can't counter out of bounds. So this was only going to be for blue no matter what. This is like close to what we just talked about with the last video. But here he's that couple extra feet because notice red's head is now completely out of bounds when he tries to kick him over. So even if he had it, it would not have counted. It only would have been for blue in this case.
Right.
That's why I asked. I thought that would have been a pretty mishap if you went to challenge that thing.
Yeah, no, they didn't challenge that one. So.
Okay.
All right. So those of you scored 2 red. Why did you score two red?
So there was a change of direction and exposure, and then when blue came back on top, he was already out of bounds. Both of his feet, his hips, and possibly his left shoulder are out of bounds. So he can't score anymore.
Mine was, when I looked at the scoring options, it looked like red was kind of favored to score the most, but then when they went completely out of bounds, I saw when blue went completely out of bounds, okay, then there was only 1 point that could have scored at that point. Or one.
Also, blue reaction showed that he didn't score any points.
All right, we had 2 red, 2 blue.
I felt like I don't know if there's continuation or anything. I mean, they were on the ground. I know part of them's outside, but like they're on the ground before they're wrestling in parterre or whatnot.
I would have liked just 4 blue there.
So I just felt like blue earned something.
I just thought just 4 blue. Boom. That was sitting on his ass, following. I don't know.
I'm with you, JD.
I just.
No.
Same.
I guess
Person that initiated didn't get any points.
Yeah.
I
I
think
thought the same thing. I was like, when I was looking at the options we had, I was like, wait a second, there's not
A 4 blue.
Yeah, it was confusing to me because he initiated it and red was really only pulling his action off of like, I'm going to go over, I'm on the edge. I feel pressured. I'm going to go over. Blue is initiating this.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was really confusing to me that there wasn't that option.
Sure. I think there's a couple things that, just from my opinion on this. Number one, if you look, blue doesn't have a hold. He has a hold of 1 leg right now.
Right
So
foot.
he's dropped
down.
that.
His right foot's still down though.
What's that?
Blue's right foot still down. He's not.
Correct, but his arm is no longer holding both legs.
Yeah.
He's now let go of the leg. So now instead of holding 2, he's only got 1. And I also from a coaching standpoint, like I don't teach a kid to hit a double and keep his head between his legs and try to go over top of him. To me, that's really difficult to take somebody to their back. If I want to split the middle and come up, I can split the middle there, but I'm not going to go double and try to go forward roll over top of that. Like that's typically not what you're, looking at in that standpoint. So I think it's hard for somebody to go to their back, or take somebody to their back with their head between their legs.
And Red does a good job of like when he's getting ready to throw, he puts his hips in and really crushes Blue's head underneath of him.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I thought this was, in terms of this, I thought red took this away. And this is really where this is a very judgment call on this. And this is where you're going to get discrepancy in this. In terms of this, I can tell you that I think it got scored 4 blue, 2 red in this process is what got scored originally. It got challenged. And I think it got challenged just to 4 red or changed to 4 red. Now, I didn't like the 4 red as much as probably 2 red because I felt like blue was on his knees attacking, like kind of going across here in this process. So he does like lift him a little bit here, but he's on his knees, going across. I think that's the other part as I'm looking at this too. From red stand, blue stays on the ground the whole time, and then red like lifts him up. See how he's kind of going. I didn't think he lifted him enough to get 4 red out of it, but I did think it was red's action. And then when which you guys are right with the out of bounds part here, like when he landed, see if I can get the.
Wow, he's right on his back when he exposes him.
Yeah, I just didn't think it was his action that took it. Like he's only got 1 leg and he's only holding on to here. So to me, this is blue's not control this, and then blue ends up out of bounds, completely lands on his hips out here. So now he's out of bounds at that point. Had this been inbounds, I probably would have gone 2-2 in this situation, 2 red, 2 blue. But because he's out, it's hard for me to score points at that point. So, but it did get changed to only red.
If you showed that to 50 officials, you'd have 25 scoring it one way and 25 scoring it another way.
All right.
Ooh.
All right, last one.
That's it, Nicole. You're off the call next week.
This was the first challenge too, by the way.
Oh, great.
Imagine watching that one time and having to score it.
Oh, one more.
Pretty good. 4 red, 1 blue. That's
Yeah.
what I saw too. Who wants to walk us through why they scored that?
I wanted to watch it again because there's no score here, but
Red changes direction, exposes, and
I
then
watched it from the beginning, and I was just trying to see if this initial flurry, any points happened, and nothing happened. No exposure. Although Red like sat on his butt, he never broke. And they kept scrambling, and then eventually they came up to their feet. Red initiated the feet to back motion, and then they scrambled a little bit more. Blue stood up out of bounds, so I went 4 red, 1 blue.
Yeah, really good. Yeah, I didn't think there was anything here. It was pretty scramble, especially watching it live. If you certainly go slow motion, it may look like there might be a takedown in that process, but I didn't think there was a takedown. And then to me, that is clearly only Red's action, and rotates him to his back, and then they end up going out of bounds, standing to that one point. So pretty good.
wow.
That's pretty good. I don't think we've ever had a person anybody with the 100%.
Take it.
We got to get Nicole a whistle.
No,
Good plan. Yeah, that's just, kind of a number of just different situations that occurred just during one match. And I think it's probably the most exciting match in terms of at that tournament. I mean, there's a lot of exciting matches, but if you're looking for like calls that got changed and things like that, that was certainly one of them. But it kind of just walks through a little bit in terms of the process of, do you challenge this at this time? Do you not? And we didn't really necessarily go in order, but those, that first situation was challenged and changed. That was, almost immediate out of the gate. So, but again, just a lot of just good examples. And I think that's kind of what, what we're starting to do here now is blend everything that we've kind of done together in some fashion, sometimes out of bounds, sometimes attack, counterattack, just a lot of different scenarios. So.
Yeah, and I think somebody said it a few weeks ago, the more that you do this, like the better that you get at it, the quicker that you're seeing things. I mean, like I know my reaction time was a whole lot quicker just because I've been watching them each week and everything. And so you get quicker and you get better at it. So hats off to you guys. I mean, it's phenomenal that you can do it so quick because you don't get that replay unless we throw something.
Congrats to Nicole for tearing everybody up today.
Woo! Thank you.
And thanks to everybody watching, from all of us at USA Wrestling and US Wrestling Officials Association, the Coaches Council, and all of our special guests. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Bye, everybody. Be safe.
Bye. Thank you.